Trustee Berger.
Here.
Trustee Garby.
Here.
Trustee Zalick.
Here.
Trustee Geezer.
Here.
Trustee Fruzzoloni. Trustee McCarthy.
Here.
Mayor Severino.
Here. Please stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of our October 4th, 2021 Village Board meetings?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee McCarthy, seconded by Trustee Zalick. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Berger.
Aye.
Trustee Garby.
Aye.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
There a motion to approve but not release the executive session minutes of our October 4th, 2021 Village Board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Berger, seconded by Trustee Geezer. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Berger.
Aye.
Trustee Garby.
Aye.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Under listening posts, we have proclamation designating October 24th Rotary International World Polio Day. And although my father had polio, I'm going to have Rick read this.
We could do it together if you like.
No, you're
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
You called me and asked me, but that's,
Okay.
but thank you.
Designating October 24th, 2021 Rotary International World Polio Day. Whereas Rotary is a global network of neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who unite and take action to create lasting change in communities across the globe, and whereas the Rotary motto, service above self, inspires members to provide humanitarian service, follow high ethical standards, and promote goodwill and peace in the world, and whereas Rotary in 1985 launched Polio Plus, and in 1988 helped establish the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which today includes the World Health Organization, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, UNICEF, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, also Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance to immunize the children of the world against polio. And whereas polio cases have dropped by 99.9% since 1988, and the world stands on the threshold of eradicating the disease, and whereas to date, Rotary has contributed more than U.S. $2.2 billion and countless volunteer hours to protecting nearly 3 billion children in 122 countries. And whereas Rotary is working to raise an additional $50 million per year, which would be leveraged for maximum impact by an additional $100 million annually from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And whereas these efforts are providing much-needed operational support, medical staff, laboratory equipment, and educational materials for health workers and parents, and whereas, in addition, Rotary has played a major role in decisions by donor governments to contribute more than $10 billion to the effort. And whereas there are over 1.2 million Rotarian members in 36,000 clubs throughout the world that sponsor service projects to address such critical issues as poverty, disease, hunger, illiteracy, and the environment in their local communities and abroad. And whereas the Rotary Club of Carroll Stream has been a fervent supporter of global polio eradication for many years. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Mayor Frank Severino, Senior, and the Board of Trustees in Carroll Stream, DuPage County, Illinois, in the exercise of its home rule powers, do hereby proclaim October 24, 2021 as World Polio Day, and encourage all citizens to join Rotary International in the fight for a polio-free world. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Geezer. Tia, do we have any addresses from the,
We have received no electronic public comments.
none? Okay, well, that's good, and we can go right on with the meeting, okay? Is there a motion to establish a consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Trustee McCarthy, seconded by Trustee Garvey. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Berger.
Aye.
Trustee Garby.
Aye.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, would you please read what is on the consent agenda?
Certainly. Board and commission reports. Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals. Bartell's Auto Clinic Quick Lube, 190 South Gary Avenue. Gary Avenue Corridor Review, new monument sign, approved with conditions 5-0, no village board action necessary. Staff reports and recommendations. Presentation of 2021 to 2022 snow and ice control plan.
Pull that off.
Okay, that has been pulled off. Approval of the sample independent contractor agreement and addendums for snow plowing and authorizing the village manager to sign the agreements with AJD Concrete Construction Corp., Abbott Tree Care, and Aspen at the rates specified.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Approval of a motion authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement between the Village of Carroll Stream and Clark Environmental Mosquito Management, Inc. for mosquito abatement services, Wayne Township, for the period 2022 through 2025.
Yes.
Yes.
Morton Road Improvements, St. Charles Road to North Avenue, award of contract for a cost not to exceed $45,163 to Rempe Sharp and Associates, Inc. for Phase 2 design services of the Morton Road Improvements project.
Yes. Yes.
Sanitary sewer extension for 250 North Gary Avenue, approval of change order number 1 for a cost of $3,578.85 for repairing the water service line, and change order number 2 for a cost of $28,403.16 related to the standby costs.
Yes. Yes.
Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 8, Article 6 of the Carroll Stream Traffic Code, parking schedules, stopping, standing, or parking prohibited, signs required, with regard to Fox Court and the drop-off and pickup of students from Evergreen School.
Yes. Yes.
That is ordinance number 2021-10-50. Ordinance amending Chapter 5, Taxation and Finance of the Carroll Stream Village Code with regard to the imposition of an amusement tax on plays of video gaming terminals, video gaming push tax.
Off.
Called off.
That was pulled off the consent agenda by Trustee Garvey. New business. Reappointment of Frank Parisi as chairperson to the Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term expiring October 31st, 2026.
Yes. Yes.
Raffle license application, Glenbard North High School Theater Boosters, approval of raffle licenses and waiver of the fees and manager's fidelity bond for their fall, winter, spring performances during the 2021-22 season.
Yes. Yes.
Payment of bills. Regular bills, October 5th, 2021 through October 18th, 2021.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Addendum warrants, October 5th, 2021 through October 18th, 2021.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That concludes the items on the consent agenda.
Did I miss Frank Parisi?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay, so,
I'll make a motion to put those on the consent agenda.
okay.
Second?
Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Geezer. Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Berger.
Aye.
Trustee Garvey.
Aye.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
We do the omnibus vote now, or, okay. Is there a motion to approve those items by omnibus vote?
So moved. Second.
Moved by trustee Zalick, seconded by trustee McCarthy. Clerk, call the rolls.
Trustee Berger.
Aye.
Trustee Garvey.
Aye.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Geezer.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.
Aye.
Okay, H1, we make a presentation on our snow removal.
Yes, I'll just introduce Jason Pauling, our street supervisor. Even though the weather is beautiful outside, as the saying goes, winter is coming. So in your packet is a copy of the snow plan. Every other year or so, we like to do a brief presentation, especially this year, I think it's appropriate. We have two newer trustees who haven't been with us for an entire winter. So Jason's going to hit some highlights of our strategies. The plan that's in your packet will be placed on the website, available for our residents to see. I also have in a folder here a copy of tonight's PowerPoint. So if anybody would like a copy, I'll be happy to give it to you after the meeting. So I'll pass it off to Jason.
Thank you. So I'm going to try to breeze through this. I love snow and ice, obviously. It's going to be kind of hard to under, but I'll give you a little presentation, a little background of what we do in Construction Public Works. So for us, snow and ice removal is a year-round job. You see us out in our trucks, it's July and 90 degrees, you see a plow on the truck, and you're like, well, what are they doing? That's us actually going through the equipment, testing it, making sure it stays in good order throughout the season. We can complete weekly truck checks. The mechanics make sure all equipment's ready to go before the season starts. They're doing their major repairs. We do spreader and equipment calibration. That's really important for us. The drop testing, we have to make sure these trucks are calibrated. They have the computer systems on them, so we want to make sure it's putting down that accurate amount of salt. And salt delivery, it started in October. We got it a little bit earlier this year, late last week of September, but we're seeing it arrive, and actually we have a conveyor on site Wednesday and Thursday that'll convey all the salt into the dome. We'll be ready to go. Some of the trainings throughout the year, we do salt reduction. We hit that home with the employees. It's very important. We look at best new practices, speaking to many people throughout the industry, colleagues in West Des Moines, Minnesota. I speak to them, try to monthly, just see what the news trend is and see what they're doing. We have simulator courses. It's kind of a computer system. The guys get behind, the new employees and the ladies, they get behind it to make sure that they know what to expect. It's not 100%, but it's something we like to do. And then the driver courses. They do that up in NIPSTA. They go through a whole thing. We try to set up some in-house here on Snow and Ice Day for all the employees to go through, backing, making sure safely how they correctly plow. And our goal is every year to be blizzard ready by November 1st, as 2 years ago we had seen snow on Halloween. So prep before the storm kind of gives you the behind looks. The crews are making the juice. That's what we call it. It's liquid salt brine. It's 23.3 in consistency. It's a very important number. That number is because if it's a little bit higher at consistency, it raises the freeze point. Right now at 23.3%, the freeze point is -6. That's the lowest that salt can go. If we change the consistency of that, the temperature starts to rise, and then we can start to see flash freezes on the roads. Here's our anti-icing equipment. Here's 5 of them that go throughout town. We can do the entire town in 1 day without any equipment failures. We have received a new pump last year that helped produce to keep these trucks filled. But these trucks are always deployed, most likely, hopefully, a day before a storm, and then we get the whole town treated. Now, sometimes you'll hear the phone conversations of, why does it smell sweet? What is that brown looking stuff? That is an organic that we put into it. It's like a Coca-Cola can that if you spill it, it's free. It all gets real sticky, and it helps keep the brine from adhering to keeps the brine on the road. And again, what is anti-icing? Basically, for the folks that don't really know behind the scenes, it's like an egg in a pan. You put the pan on it, obviously, to keep it from sticking. That's the same thing we want to do with the snow to the road. Here is a couple treated streets. As you can see, the white lines, you may get questions on that. What are those white lines? That is actually the anti-ice applied. And on the right, it shows it working. This is actually 2 hours into a storm where the cord is still seeing the fingers. That's really important to us, is those fingers. You can see it's still working. So weather monitoring. This is where I become a meteorologist, I think. And behind the scenes is I use models. DTN gives me all the information I need as far as the wet bulb temperature, the humidity, the dew point. That's really important to me because that gives me the storm characteristics. And then we have NOAA, one of the well-known. We try to stay off 257. They kind of overblow the storms, make it like a huge Armageddon each time. So we strictly stay to here. The weather modeling is part of COD that I started taking on. And the DTN gives us all the stats hour by hour. And even has the meteorologists on site 24/7, 365, so I can communicate with them getting weather updates. So We're getting ready for the storm still. We meet as a department usually at the end of the day, and I try to come up with a tentative snow and ice plan. This is as best as I can do, making sure they're all informed, so when they go home at night, they know what to expect. What time am I gonna call? What is the possibility? What are we seeing? Unfortunately, this plan changes hourly. I think I have it all done, it's crumpled up, I throw it away and I have a new one. It continuously changes as the forecast moves in. So they're given an expectation, they understand what's coming, and they can go home and either go home, take a nap if they can, and expect to be called in at a certain time, or it gives us time to know, hey, we don't have to come in till later tomorrow. And for us, pavement temperature is the #1 factor in snow removal. I'm not worried about air temperature. I really don't care about it's that pavement temperature, because that's what's gonna melt the snow and what keep it from bonding and how much salt we need to use. So our trucks have road watch systems. And then I also been outfitted this year like a PD car. I have a computer in there where I get live feed of the forecast. I just hit refresh it, gives me the live radar. I'm continuously in a route. I usually run the mains, and it gives me a chance to see the entire village. Yes.
Do the police work hand in hand with you overnight? Like if they're out and about and they see the snow, they call you, and does that still happen?
Yes, absolutely. I have a great relationship with the night sergeant, the corporal, the day sergeant corporal. We meet beforehand, we have a game plan. I let them know almost that same plan, and so they know what to expect. Because there'll be times where I'll get a phone call from the sergeant, we'll talk like around 7 or 8 when he comes on shift, or she comes on shift, and say, hey, we're gonna try holding off, because it's gonna be a 16-hour snow to 2 o'clock. But if things worsen, give me a call. And that's happened, and we've had to bring in a store crew. But the communication is key with the different departments, especially the police department. They get a crash, I want to be the first to know, because I want to make sure not all our resources, but our resources get to those areas. And obviously, throughout the duration of the storm, as you can remember, it's constant communication. Either a text message, this and that, and then at shift change, I make sure to check in with the next supervisor crew that comes in so they know what's going on. So here's some of our equipment. We have a pickup truck. We call those a small dump truck and then big truck. The big truck usually runs with a pickup truck in residential zones. And then on the mains, you'll see the main roads like Lyes, Fair Oaks, Coon Road is a big truck with another big truck behind it. And usually we have to put another truck behind that because of the road width. So on a full staff, we normally can get the town done with 2 trucks in each zone. We can get through there in about 1 hour and 45 minutes. That gives us faster time from curb to curb, gets material down the middle, and just keeps us up ahead of the storm. Another thing that introduced to us, we started with Cartograph, I think about 3 years ago, and this is a very vital key to our job too. Cartograph work order. Basically, it gives you the whole thing, the snow and ice from last year in one snapshot. And I have the ability to go in and pull labor, pull equipment, pull material used, and export that into an Excel. For example, if we were to have a blizzard and FEMA wants to reimburse us, we have the ability to go in and say, okay, for that storm, we use this much resources, this much. It's a click of a button, rather than going back and searching through tickets. Cartograph with the wave of the future, and also what happens is after a storm, we get complaints. It enables me to pull up on a map, see where those complaints at, address them, sometimes even during the storm, and then we're able to disperse resources. So Cartograph is really vital to us. It's a great system, and we're able to communicate back and forth using that system. So we have some things we have to work on still. The present and the future focus. This cannot stress enough is salt reduction. We are getting hammered by the EPA, and we have made several measures. The levels of the chlorides in local and regional waterways exceeds the maximum limits established by the EPA. Carroll Stream, we have been very aggressive. I know you've seen that throughout the years. Testing, deploying salt reduction strategies, but significant improvements must be made. They're coming down, and they want to continue to see us make these changes. So ongoing, some new salt reduction strategies that we're doing. Here's a video, I hope it's not too loud, but this is a truck equipped with a chute. I saw this in Minnesota, I thought it was awesome. But obviously, Minnesota's had, their piece of equipment was fabricated and cost a ton of money. So we talked amongst the group, and we're like, what could we do to make us, basically, we want the salt to come right down that crown lane. That's gonna reduce the salt right there. So we came up with this called the chute. We took it out one time, the driver, we and I communicated, he was like, it's just going too far in the other lane, I'm plowing it off on a return pass. Okay, so we shortened it, and now we think we have mastered it, we have had built 4 more for the lead trucks. So what that's doing is one of the salt reductions measures we're taking. We're putting the amount of salt at 200 pounds per lane mile right down the center of the lane. The traffic rubs into it, crunches it, it starts the emulsion. Obviously, we need the liquid from the storm to get that salt into a conversion. Another thing we tried recently 2 years ago, and we're advancing, is the rubber blade, plow blade. Imagine this at your garage, and you wash it down, and you have to squeegee the floor. This is what this does. Another great salt reduction method, this driver started reducing his salt use to the point where on cleanup, he'd only put down 100 pounds per lane mile compared to some were 300. So we've seen it with this. It's just a squeegee, a rubber plow blade. You can see
How long does that rubber last?
we have 2 seasons so far on it, and we're pretty impressed. Good, with good road structure. We don't have a lot of
Potholes and stuff.
potholes where it can damage that. Our stuff in the road is still good, so it helps with that. And I believe in the return, it's also helped with the crack fill too. So, but no, having an aggressive road system, having those plow blades, we're looking to advance. Here's our newer unit. We got this last year. It's a dually rear wheel pickup truck, but the cool thing about this is that salt bed on the back. This is primarily used off of Munson and Pawnee to get into those hard courts that we can't get our trucks into. This little guy gets in there. It's got good turning radius. It has a liquid tank on it, so it's a newer part of our fleet. Something I've been pushing, learned this about 3 years ago, is an all-liquid route. Getting rid of the salt granule and going to straight spray. Here's an 80-20 mix. It achieves our results faster, but this can only be done in the right storm, obviously. If we're looking at sub-temperatures dipping down, we cannot do this, but this is a good 28 to 32 degree temperature storm, and it just wipes out the storm, and the driver doesn't have to go back. It's still trial, but we're pushing it. A couple other examples, you could see the truck on the right was applying it, and the truck on the left was just doing dry because it doesn't have the capability. But you can see the instant we're right down the black pavement, what our achieving goal is. And here we did the village hall without plowing it. The gentleman plied it, sprayed it throughout there, and we had our lanes wide open. So he can continuously not have to worry about applying salt here at the village hall. What is the liquid? Liquid is an 80-20%. So it's 80% liquid salt brine and 20% organic. The organic is a material, like going back, it's like that Coke. It's like that sugary base that helps us achieve our goals. And we will anti-ice with that. If I'm confident in the storm the day before, we're going to go out and do that because it's only going to help us get to our expectations. So some future ideas that we're trying to look at is, one is a road weather station. This is just like the meteorology has. It goes out on the road. Some municipalities have them, and I've seen great results with them. It gives you accurate temperature. Again, it gives you the air temperature, but we're not worried about that much as much. A pavement temperature, wind speed, so we know which way the wind is coming out of. Second thing is a wedge tank. I want more liquid. We have to put more liquid on these trucks, and we'll get away from more of the granule. This has the option of doing that, 700 gallons, and has a chance that we can anti-ice with this truck again too. So we go into another all liquid. And then finally, an automated brine maker. It's just a new feature, something that they're using out there. We have heard great results. It helps efficiency in the time and brine made, and it helps calculate all the brine made rather than us continuously writing it down. And for that, I'm sorry. So one of the big things too is, obviously, is our priority is communicate the plan with the staff. Use employee input, stay safe, and salt conservation. So I come up with the winter expectations. All of our staff have it. We have it throughout the building. And so they are able to see my expectations, then they can go by it and be like, okay, here's what we got to do. And it just, a refresher, because after it gets numerous, storm after storm after storm, we break down. It happens. But this is all around, it just helps us out. With that, any other questions?
I have one.
Are we using less outside sources this year than we have in the past? I noticed we're only using 3 listed.
So we have 3 contractors. The one contractor is he's a village resident, I found out, and so he owns this company in Carroll Stream. He's new, he's Aspen. He is up in Zone 4. It's up in the northwest corner. So what he does, he does a flat rate. So he goes through, if it takes one time, he charges a flat rate. We still have those 2 are coming back, Abbott and AJD. So I would say we gained 1 more contractor this year, but it helps with efficiency. And it ended up being a Carroll Stream resident, which worked out perfectly.
But one of them, our largest contractor, AJD, is struggling to get drivers. So it was good that Jason brought in a 3rd contractor this year, because we were able to spread a little bit of the work around. But, they're getting hit with the same labor issues many other industries are seeing.
Now, I'm sorry, Tom, you were going to have a question, so
I just had a question of what a UTV mounted unit is.
So if you don't mind, I can go back and show you. That is $5.99. We got that. It helps with the sidewalks. Yes, we do contract the sidewalks out by GBN, but this gives us the ability to go and treat it. It has an attachment for a broom and an attachment for a snow blower. We use that unit also to clean up bus stops in the end of after the storm, because we'll get the complaints, which
Is
to
it
the
a
right.
pickup truck or?
It's right there and to the right, the bottom right corner.
Oh, the utility vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could that be something that can be used for our jogging paths? Is that something that could be used?
Could it? Yes, but it's almost not the right piece of equipment, because we have seen it on our bike path where it gets so much, it has to be the perfect snow, John, or Trustee Zalek, sorry. It has to be the perfect snow, or the broom, and sometimes we've seen it bog down. So
It just doesn't have the pushing power.
Okay.
A light 2-inch snow, we can drive that thing with a brush on it and get rid of the snow.
Right.
With a 2 or 3-inch snow that's not really
Wet.
heavy,
Yeah.
we could even use the blower unit, but you get any serious amount of snow, it simply doesn't have the pushing power.
Okay.
The contractors, you yearly sit down with them and go back over because they're generally responsible for the residential area itself, all the cul-de-sacs and everything else. So we make sure that they're not, when possible, not loading the end of people's driveways and burying around mailboxes and that kind of stuff, right?
yes, that's a great question. So we do meet with the contractors before they're given our expectations. We also implemented 2 years ago where we have a supervisor, utility supervisor, whom checks on them. That's his job. And him and I are in communication the entire time. And we have seen a reduction in phone calls from those residents in, like, we're Western Trails or a Zone 1 up in the northeast corner or west corner. We have seen dramatic change. Also.
We have, by the way, in Western Trails.
Yes, which is good, because we'll get sometimes what happens if we have a repetitive complaint, they get my direct line, and they call it, and they'll leave me a message. And instantly, we're able to disperse those resources to that zone right away and handle it. And we've seen it work great. So, but yeah, they were given our expectations. There has been times where they have done a crappy job, where we called them out, they came out and redid it, and we did not pay them. It was part of, they agreed, so.
Okay, good.
Also, when you say that you dump it in someone's driveway, it's still illegal for those residents that are, decide to push it back in the street. It's against village ordinance, correct?
Yes, that is correct. It's very aggravating for the drivers who have been put in 12, 14 hours.
And the police officers have to go to the same houses.
Because we're taking the resources from the street to come assist us because we have snow in the street. And there's mounds. It's taking the resources away, and it's.
And it's dangerous, because if someone's driving thinking it's clear road, and all of a sudden they hit slush or something and they lose control. So it's illegal to push it back in the road.
Yes.
And just so you can let residents know, it's a near impossibility to not push snow at the end of a driveway.
It is a near impossibility. The job is us getting the snow off. It comes off the blade. We have instructions on the website how to correctly shovel your driveway. Usually it's to wait till we're done, because that windrow won't. What happens is if you shovel your driveway, our snow truck comes down, where's all that snow gonna go? It's gonna go into that one open hole, and it's just gonna fill the driveway. So wait till we're done. We're pretty quick after the storm, I would say, compared to other places, that 4 and a half hours, we can usually have this town cleaned up and curb to curb and with black streets, so that's our goal.
Jason, great job. Phil,
Absolutely.
great job. This is the best presentation I think I've seen since I've been here. I know you put a lot of extra effort into it, with not having to trying to use less salt, and we appreciate that, because anything we could do to save the planet, we've always been first. And what I don't want to do is I don't want to lose the reputation that you guys have built over the years of people get up in the morning at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, they get in their car, they pull out, they get to North Avenue, Army Trail Road, and they can't go any further. You guys have done an excellent job, so just continue to do that, and I'm very impressed with the presentation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jason.
This presentation might be good for social media, just to share with our
Yeah.
residents.
We can work with Tia to see if we can't get that.
Yeah, that
I
would,
think it's a good idea.
I'd put Jason's face, though, in the presentation.
No, don't do that.
Absolutely. And all kidding aside, we're very fortunate to have Jason. Not only is he passionate about this, but
yeah, I
he's
agree.
grown
Very lucky.
extremely knowledgeable, and he's been invited to speak at local and regional conferences to share his experience and our program with other people. And I know he gets phone calls from other towns saying, what are you doing? Because we know your town looks great. So,
I worked with Jason, on the job, and he's a pleasure to work with. He's business, and he gets the job done, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I do have copies of his PowerPoint here. If anybody wants one, I'll drop it off at the end.
We don't need to approve that, right? Because that was just a presentation.
Okay, the next thing is trustee Garvey pulled off I-1. Trustee Garvey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've got a problem with the gambling ordinance and bringing it into town in the first place. And had I been on the board, I wouldn't have voted for it. So I've got difficulty approving an additional tax on it because gambling has always been considered a vice. And right now, gambling, the only gambling that's allowed is gambling that's approved by the state, which doesn't make any sense to me. And it kind of overturns the purpose of government, which is to protect the welfare and the citizenry and to suppress evildoers, criminals. In the information we were given on the push tax during this week, there was a presentation by Peterson Johnson and Mulray, I think it is, that brought out some really good points about the bad things about allowing gambling into our community. It brings more harm to society than the benefits that they generate, including taxes. I believe it's socially harmful and actually fiscally regressive, because the largest numbers of people that participate in it are the people that least can afford it. There's a lot of things I could talk about the impracticality of it, but talking about prudent matters, allowing the gambling in the town means that money is being spent on that when it should be spent on other aspects of our community, whether it's in restaurants or other establishments. And convenience gambling is responsible for 39% of gambling addictions, and Illinois has no resources for it, for dealing with those things. So it doesn't make sense to me to vote to allow more taxes on something that I don't think we should have done in the first place. So while the tax revenue numbers look enticing, and I have to admit to that, I don't think we should succumb to the enticement of gambling in the first place, where it's easy money. So I would be against it.
Well,
So
I have a comment.
sure.
I don't know, again, I know many people who put in a 20, I've put in 20, and I can afford it. I'm not saying that there aren't people that can't afford it, but there are Gambling Anonymous and so forth. But again, if the state made it legal, we promised residents during the property tax that we would look at every opportunity for revenue. And I just think that it's legal, and I would be for it.
Okay. Anyone else?
I will agree with trustee Zalick. We have it, well, I could talk to you, trustee Zalick, or Chief Homer. Have we had that many incidents, police incidents, because of gambling? We would have heard about them if we did,
Yes, no, I can't say that we have.
okay?
And when I go to the establishments like the Village Tavern, Game Time, actually, people are very friendly and they're joking and they're socializing, you know? So I don't know of any issues we've had with,
And from what I remember, one of the reasons it was instituted to begin with was, besides it being legal in the state, is that the restaurants requested it. Am I correct?
To help for survival.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. What we threw them was, we threw them the life jacket. We threw them the ring to save from drowning, because in many cases, most of them would have been out of business, and that's a fact. This 1% tax is not coming from anybody other than the person that put the machines in. It's not coming from the person, as far as my knowledge, that owns the restaurant. It's going to be it's a push tax of 1 penny. Every time you hit the button, it's 1 penny. So you think about 1 penny, 100 pushes, it'd be $1. I mean, is anybody even going to pay attention to that? How much is it going to raise? I mean, we have no idea, because we don't really have a way of figuring that out, because no one ever counted how many pushes there are. They count how much dollars there is. We have an opportunity here that if we miss this window and don't approve it tonight, and they go back into the Senate in, I guess, in the special session, and decide that they're going to put the date immediately, anybody that's not in ain't in, and anybody that's in is going to be able to continue to collect that money. So I would rather have it than not have it, only because it's a future for us as far as more money coming in, and less that the residents that don't gamble, that don't believe in gambling, like probably 95% of them that live in this town, never put any money in the machine. I love to gamble. I have never put a nickel in one of them machines. Yet if you turn me loose in Vegas, I'm crazy with the slot machines. And I mean, a lot of people are like that. I just don't feel it's right. And I can't disagree or agree with Trustee Garvey. I just don't think, for me, it's not, I can't sit down and play. I wouldn't go in another town and play. To me, it's just not right. But again, we have to look at what we need to do for the residents. And sometimes we have to do things that maybe we don't all believe in, but it's the right thing to do. When the gambling first came around, I had a couple of priests, and I used to meet with the priests until COVID. Every 3 months, I'd sit with maybe 14 or 15 pastors from different churches, and we talked about it when the gambling first came out. And I said, then I want you to do me a favor, because we got gambling every place. They said, yeah, and where is it? Every convenience store sells lottery tickets, and I have to agree with Trustee Garvey. The state passed it, they said it was okay, so you want to go in there and spend $500 buying lottery tickets because you might win $50 million, then that's what people do. We can't stop it. We get hardly nothing out of that when you look at it. At least this way, when we looked at this gaming, we looked at it and we looked at what we wanted to collect for each machine. In a town that is not home rule, can't charge more than $25 for a machine and get their 5% for that. And I made the statement, and a lot of you have heard me say it, we wouldn't have never let it in the town for that much money. It wouldn't be worth it for us. But again, it would have hurt the restaurants. In some areas, they're putting it in. I think Itasca is one, I don't want to throw their name around, but I mean, they're not home rule. They have a problem. The most they can get is $25 for each machine. This push tax might be something that would be good for them. It'll be really good for us, because we've got, I don't know how many machines we're up to right now, where we have people that still want to open up restaurants because we have gaming licenses available yet. So I'd love to have 2 or 3 more restaurants in where we can collect more tax from them, give our people more places to eat, and keep them healthy. And if you ask any restaurant in this town that's got gaming from, and again, some that waited all the way, they waited 4, 5, 6 years before they came to me and said, you know what, I'm ready to do it. And then come to me a year later and said, I wish you'd have pushed me to do it, because it saved my business is what it did. And that's the world we live in today. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's not coming out of anybody except from the operator that puts the machine in, that doesn't pay the rent, doesn't have to hire any help other than the person that takes the money in and out of the machine. And everybody else is doing everything for them, and they get the biggest chunk. So it's an opportunity for us to make an extra penny here or penny there, and hopefully that we can keep the property tax where it's at. We said we wouldn't come back with vehicle stickers. We did that. $700,000, we wiped the vehicle sticker out. We will keep our word, but we always have to look for avenues. Some towns that said that they don't want any marijuana sales have now opened up 2 dispensaries in their town. They changed it around. I don't like drugs. I ain't a big fan of gambling either. I played a lottery, but I mean, you know, it's like you got to do something to have some fun. I mean, I would rather do that than start thinking other ways of making money that are really illegal. We legalize drugs in this state, so gambling to me is bad. I think alcohol is probably worse than both of them, but I can't prove that. So with that, I mean, I think it's where we are is where we're going to be. I think the push tax was a great idea. It came to me and from one of our staff members. We jumped on it right away. Our attorney jumped on it right away to get this put on. And if we don't do it, that's fine, but we'll have to find other ways of raising money. And I think that the well is drying up on ways of raising money. But other than taxes, and I know no one wants to hear that, including me. I mean, not in this state especially, so. Anyone else have anything they want to say?
No, as long as it doesn't hit the bottom line of our restaurants, since, I mean, that's my biggest fear.
The only way it could do that, Matt, is if they own the machine that's in there,
Right,
and that
which-
would be illegal.
Exactly.
So it can't happen that way. Correct? Am I correct, Bob, when I say that? Okay.
Yeah, they don't own the machines.
Or the owners are doing all the pushing.
Well, that's a different story.
I don't think they can do that.
And we're not sure yet what Springfield is going to do, because it actually was stopped in the House.
The House.
And it never made it to the Senate. So they'll have to change that date from June, whatever it was, the June date. They'll have to change that date when they do pass it and finalize it to what it would be 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks or a month from now. So if we don't get this in, we're out. Anybody that's passed it will get it. And those that didn't will be sitting on the sidelines, and the guys that own the machines, not the restaurant, not the state, the guy that owns the machine that's putting it in there is the guy that's going to have to put up with that penny a push.
Yeah, the other thing to remember is that Senate Bill 521 had an amendment done, the Fourth Amendment, which not only raised the amount for non-home rule to $250, it preempted home rule municipalities from charging anything more than $250. So if that passes, the village will have to go back to $250 and won't be able to charge the amount of money that they're currently charging to the terminal operators and to the licensees. So this is a way of offsetting some of that loss that the village would take if that amendment is tacked on again this time around.
See, that's one problem that we face. They always find a way to try and take money away,
Absolutely.
but very rarely ever find ways of giving us our money back that they took from us. So, I mean, we have to worry about the 40,000 people and 20 million square feet of industrial space that we were put here to make sure that we do the right thing. And sometimes we don't have to agree that it's the right thing. We have the way to vote. You don't like it, vote no. But I mean, the right thing to do is for the majority of the people. There's decisions I've had to make in the 20 years that I've been sitting up here. Some of them broke my heart, but we did them. We did what we had to do because it was for the group, the whole, and not the few. And every time we make a decision, we have to take that into consideration of the 40,000 people, and not what I think, is not what Frank Savarino thinks or any of us think. It's what is the right thing to do. So with that said, do we have to vote on this?
Need a motion.
Okay, I need a motion to put I2 back on the agenda.
You just need a motion to approve it.
No, motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion
Oh.
to approve it.
Okay, so second?
Second.
Okay, so I got Zalick and then approved it, and then McCarthy second. You need to take a roll call?
Trustee Berger?
Aye.
Trustee Garby?
No.
Trustee Zalick?
Aye.
Trustee Giesers?
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy?
Aye.
So it passed. Okay.
That is ordinance
Oh, excuse me.
2021-10-51.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, then we're all the way down to report of officers.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Berger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This should only take about 30 minutes. Got to make that joke every time. I would like to congratulate the Glenbard North girls tennis team. If for no other reason than my daughter was a captain on the team and was a senior, so she finished her season off this past weekend with the tennis team. So I just wanted to congratulate them on a strong season. I won't go into any details because they didn't actually win a tournament. But so we'll just leave that right there. I think there'll be more details coming out in some of the other reports, but if you are in need of a booster shot for COVID-19, you can do so here in Carroll Stream on the 27th from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon, and go on the website to make reservations? Appointments? Okay. Halloween is coming up before our next meeting, so I just want to encourage everybody to drive safe when all the kids are out there collecting their candy, or if there's a trustee dressed up as somebody out there collecting candy. Watch out for him too, and for all the parents and kids to watch out for the cars and be safe. And finally, Trustee Giesers and myself were at the open house for the library, and I was really impressed when I walked in the door there. I hadn't been in the library since before, obviously, the renovation happened, and I had been in there frequently before because my wife used to work there. And I was really impressed when I walked in the door. It's just a whole different feel, a whole different mood. It's something that would make Dewey Decimal himself very proud. I know he's not a real person, but you can't let facts get in the way of a good joke. But I would encourage everybody to get out to the library and experience the new environment there. And with that, that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Trustee Berger. Trustee Garby.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I need to revisit the subject of vaccine mandates. The last meeting we had, I asked that people would read that editorial and to look into the Healthcare Right of Conscience Act in Illinois. You remember when the people were on the front lines of the COVID vaccine, or the COVID pandemic? They were all heroes. The people working in the hospitals, the guys in the military, the National Guard, nursing homes, grocery stores, they were all heroes. We had signs up that said, "Heroes work here." But now they're being vilified and dismissed from their jobs because they're not willing to take a vaccine that's being mandated. They were worked and praised then, but now when there were no treatments, under the worst of circumstances. But now they're dangerous to us? That doesn't make any sense to me. The United States Navy, of which I'm a veteran of, boasts that they are 90% fully vaccinated. But now they're threatening less than honorable discharges to people who won't take this vaccine. What's the percentage they have to reach before the unvaccinated are no longer a danger to the vaccinated? They're going to lose their VA benefits just because they refuse to give up their bodily autonomy. It doesn't make any sense. How are the unvaccinated a danger to the vaccinated? It doesn't make any sense. And now Governor Pritzker, by the way, this is a mandate from the executive. It's not a legislation that's been passed. But now Governor Pritzker is wanting to change the Healthcare Right of Conscience Act, which is being used in the legal cases to fight against these mandates. He wants to change that law to comply with his mandates. That doesn't make any sense. If you you want to change the law, make it a law where the legislature says, we've got to take this. Because that's what the Supreme Court case in 1905 actually found, that the legislature passed a law that you have to take a vaccine, not an executive order. So anyway, I agree with the people that are fighting against the mandates. I'm not anti-vax. I probably got more vaccines in me than anybody here. But I think we have to fight against mandates like this because they're unlawful, they're unconstitutional. And we're losing our freedoms by agreeing to them. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Trustee Garvin. Trustee Zalick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too am against the mandate, and I shame on Lightfoot for threatening to fire police when they need the police more now than ever because they're not listening to her. Shame on her, but that's not part of my report. That's just an editorial. Okay, my first comment would be for the Rotary. They're a great organization, and they're holding their annual winter coat and clothing drive from November 1st through January 28th. You can drop off jackets and clothes at various locations, including here at the village. Touching on what Trustee Berger said, please, please, please drive safely around Halloween and especially around forest preserves, because between October and December, it's mating season for the deer, and they can do some real damage to your car and cause injury accidents. So be careful around forest preserves and in the residential areas during Halloween season. Also, I want to give a big shout out to my fellow trustee, Matt McCarthy. His expertise in the bags tournament at the Village Tavern was great to see. It was a pleasure working with you there. And I know you're going to touch base on that in your report, but shout out to the Village Tavern and Grill, Mary Kate Shepard, Mike Coughlin, all the employees there. They did a great job, and I heard the benefit was a very success story. And finally, keep military, first responders in your prayers and thoughts. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Zalick. Trustee Gieser.
Thank you very much. Everyone's mentioned Halloween. We're in the middle of our village Halloween decorating contest. We have about 26 nominees so far. We're right on track. We usually get between 30 and 40. If you would like to decorate your home or your neighbor's home or someone in your family who live in Carroll Stream, send an email to decoratingcontest@carrollstream.org. Decoratingcontest@carrollstream.org. The deadline is October 22nd. That's this Friday at 5 p.m. And the judging will be on Monday, October 25th, a week from tonight, between 6 and 9 p.m. So just a little aside that if you are nominating someone, make sure their lights are on. So we send a team out. It's usually me, who go out and take a picture of the house, so we put it on our story map so people can then go and visit all the various decorated houses. So please have your lights on so we can have the pictures, and then so all the residents can see all the handiwork that you've done. There's a lot of really terrific houses this year. I don't know if any of the other trustees are out there on the board
Amazing.
taking a look, but
Oh,
there's
yeah.
some very nice ones out there this year.
And
if
some
you
new
haven't,
ones.
Please do. And some new ones, exactly. Speaking of Halloween, why don't we remind people, what are the hours again for this year for trick-or-treating?
7 to 3?
3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
7 to 3.
3 to,
7 to
yes,
3.
3 to 7.
2 a.m. Go away.
I know some of you wanted it longer.
That's, and I'm looking forward to this Saturday. I'm going to be speaking to a group of Cub Scouts from PAC 191 about the community and leadership and civics and volunteerism and all that stuff to try to get them excited about getting involved in the community as they grow. So I'm looking forward to speaking to them. And I was happy to read the proclamation with the Rotary, and it's really interesting, and I think we can make some connections to the world today, in that the Rotary has always been very involved in the eradication of polio, and they are near the threshold of eradicating polio, so I will, and that's been a scourge to, here in the United States. As you said, your father had polio, I had uncles who had polio. That we can eradicate that, and hopefully we can eradicate the current scourge right now, so I encourage you all to get vaccinated, and if you have a chance to participate in the booster event on October 27th. That's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Giesman. Trustee McCarthy.
And the booster event, you do have to qualify based on age, and Tia, you want to run through that real quick?
The details of the qualifications are on our website, and as you go to register, you would have to affirm that you meet those qualifications and that you can also produce your state ID, insurance, and your vaccination card from the previous events so that you are not getting vaccinated earlier than 6 months from your last dose.
Thank you. While I also am not a fan of mandates of government telling us what we can and can't do, what goes in our bodies. But I also, I did appreciate listening to Trustee Gieser read the World Polio Day. 99.9%, and that's because of vaccines. We gotta find a happy medium here. I get that not everybody likes vaccines. I get that some people still think there needs to be more work done on it. I tend to fall with today's technology. I think they can do a lot more research into something in a very short amount of time compared to what they did, 80 years ago. So I still think the vaccine is absolutely your choice, and I'm not telling you to get it. I'm just saying think long and hard and make the best decision for the health of you and your family. With the time changes coming soon, so don't forget when that time changes, change your batteries and your fire alarms and your smoke alarms and your CO2 detectors. Please make sure to do that. And while the weather's still nice, check out any storm drains that's right around your house and make sure they're clear. We can get a ton of rain at this time of year, and if the sewers are clogged, that's when the streets start to get flooded, and that becomes an issue when the weather starts to get colder. A number of years ago, we had a heavy rain, and then it froze, and we had a giant ice block on, was it on Thunderbird? It was, yeah, I think it was over there. It was, so as much as possible, check out those storm drains and make sure they're clear. And Trustee Zalick touched on it. We had the honor of being asked to help with a fundraiser yesterday. Officer Chris Harpling, he's a Wheaton police officer diagnosed with leukemia, and the police union and the police department got together and wanted to do a fundraiser for him. And Mike Coughlin over at Village Tavern said, have it here. Steamboat Barbecue said, we'll supply food too, since this way it's all the cost isn't just on Village Tavern. First responders from all around came to support it. Our team, which was Trustee Zalick, myself, and Paul Zarnicki, we had the easy part of just doing the bags tournament. It's a little hairy, but it worked out just fine. And I saw the mayor there and a number of companies that help sponsor or make donations. They were hoping to raise about $10,000. They raised $29,100 and change in one day. It was an amazing event, and it was just great to see how many people came out to help, how many people came out, and just the support was absolutely amazing. And a lot of people from our town were there, so it doesn't really surprise me the support that was there, because that's what our residents do. But it really was, and they have a GoFundMe page too, and that GoFundMe is also up to $58,000. So I just think that's amazing. Somebody who's spent the last 20 years serving and protecting us as a whole, everybody's coming up to bat for him, which I think is amazing, and I want to thank everybody for doing it. With that, I'll end my report.
Well, before we go any further, I want to thank you and Trustee Zalick for taking the bull by the horns, because you had how many, 22 teams?
25.
25. Well, it even grew from when I was there. It was 20, then it went to 22, 25. So thank you for representing Carroll Stream. For a Wheaton police officer, the Wheaton police officers were overwhelmed by our hospitality. And that is what Carroll Stream is all about.
Absolutely.
And that's all I could say to them, is I'm glad the relationship that we have with our police and fire and their staff and our staff, how we all work together. And that's what keeps everybody going. It's all about the people, and we can never forget that. So thank you.
Amen.
For both of you being out there. Tia, do you have anything?
I'd just like to remind everybody that coming up on Saturday, November 6th, we will be hosting an electronics, textiles, and pumpkin recycling event. It'll be located at the Water Reclamation Center at 245 Coon Road, and it will run from 8 a.m. to noon. For details on qualifying items, restrictions, and fees, please visit our website at carrollstream.org.
Very good.
And that's my report. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a quick question for you, Trustee Geezer. I wanted to nominate a couple of houses on my block, on my street, for the Halloween contest. If someone has won before, can they win again? Or if you've won in the past, are you out of the competition?
They're out of the competition, but they should be nominated because more than likely they have an attractive home, so they should be on the story map so people can take a look. So please do.
No, I'm glad you mentioned the deadline. So this Friday is the deadline for
This Friday at
submissions.
5 p.m.
Perfect, thank you. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is I wanted to, again, like you said, Mayor, commend Trustee Zalick and Trustee McCarthy for all their work yesterday. Greg and I were there for a few hours in the afternoon, and it was a lot of work, and you guys handled it so well. And it was just a grueling day, but everyone had fun. So even though you guys, I could tell, were a little bit stressed, or at least McCarthy was a little stressed, everybody had so much fun, and the prizes were amazing. You know, it was nice to see kids there and adults and people of different generations from all over, from Wheaton and Carroll Stream and Glen Ellen. I mean, there are so many people, firefighters and police officers and just families. So it was just a great event, and I just want to thank you guys for putting in the effort, because that was a long day. So thank you for doing that. And then the other thing I was going to say, hosting it in Carroll Stream at Village Tavern was a nice way to showcase a Carroll Stream restaurant, and kind of a nice reminder of how I say, please shop Carroll Stream, is shop and dine in Carroll Stream, because that's where we fund our city. So thank you for doing that, and that ends my report.
That's it?
That's it.
What about Shop Carroll Stream?
Well, that was just it. Shop and
Shop
dine
and-
in Carroll
okay.
Stream. Here, I'll reiterate, shop
You
and
should
dine
have
in
threw the
Carroll
fire
Stream.
department in there, because they were nice enough to run the cable
And power.
power out to where the two big screen TVs were, so people could watch the football game.
Yeah, that was,
Without that, they would not have been able to watch
they were-
the football.
yeah, no, absolutely. It was incredible.
Even though they lost, it was still interesting to have the game on at the same time.
It was really an amazing event, so.
Yeah, very good.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Rhodes, our village attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. I would like to ask all of the drivers out there to make sure that during Halloween, that they're paying attention. It's going to be dark. Please pay attention to the trick-or-treaters that are going to be out there. They're not going to be paying attention as to where they're going, and they may wander off into the streets. So it's very important that everyone be safe. Secondly, I would also offer my congratulations on another great, successful bags tournament. And then lastly, we talked a little bit about Senate Bill 521, and I just wanted to point out that the Illinois Municipal League took a neutral position on this bill. They took that position prior to the Fourth Amendment being on there, but they took the position because they wanted to help out and wanted to push for the non-home rule communities to get that extra $250. But it's actually working to the detriment of the home rule communities now that Fourth Amendment is on. And so I think it is still important that we contact our legislatures and make sure, again, that we're telling them that any attempt to limit home rule authority is something that's really not appropriate, particularly when it comes to issues with respect to the revenue that municipalities are seeking. Everyone is in the same boat in terms of revenue and losses of revenue because of COVID and other things. And so I think it's important that we keep our legislatures aware of the fact that they need to keep their hands out of municipalities' pockets, so to speak.
So would you do me a favor, explain, I could do it, but I think coming from you is the legal, explain home rule and what creates non-home rule?
Well, every community is a non-home rule community when they begin. And you can become home rule in a number of different ways. One of them is once you hit a 25,000 in population, you automatically become home rule. The other is you can do so by referendum where the voters in the town approve home rule. What home rule does is it grants you additional powers under the Illinois Constitution. And there's a very specific section in the Illinois Constitution in Chapter 7, which grants home rule communities the ability to legislate for health, safety, and welfare and not have to look to the Illinois Municipal Code for authority to do so. So it gives home rule municipalities the ability to expand their rights to take a look at various types of issues that concern municipalities and deal with them themselves and not have to look to the legislature every time they're trying to do that. And one of the ways, frankly, is with respect to revenue. It allows municipalities to do certain things in terms of taxation that they wouldn't ordinarily be allowed to do. But in other situations, it allows them to do things in terms of licensing. That's, it allows them to look at some different options in terms of various types of ordinances that wouldn't necessarily be listed in terms of the Illinois Municipal Code. And what it does is it doesn't require municipalities to bond together and then attempt to get some legislation passed through the Illinois legislature in order to have power. It gives you that power directly coming from the Constitution. But what the constitutional provision does do is it allows the legislature to preempt home rule and to say that you're only going to get the power that we're giving you on this topic. And so that's where the rub comes in, because the legislature within the past 10, 15 years has exercised that power numerous times. And they've really exercised that power, at least in my judgment, in situations where they really had no business dealing with an issue that's really local in nature and not an issue that they need to get involved in from a state standpoint.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask you a question. So it's automatically at 25,000 you become home rule.
Yes, sir.
There's towns that are over 25,000 that are not home rule, am I right?
Yes, because there's also a provision that allows municipalities by referendum to not become home rule, to go back to becoming non-home rule. And Lombard is one example. Lombard is over 25,000. They had a referendum, and they are not home rule. Also, Rockford is a prime example. Rockford was home rule. Obviously, they're substantially more than 25,000, but they had a referendum to go back. So there's probably, I would say maybe a dozen.
Just wanted to prove a point that there was some that are over 50,000.
Yes.
They're not home rule. Rockford is number 4 or 5 in the state.
Correct.
And they're not home rule.
Correct.
Okay, so then we go back to the town that's got 8,000 people. They could put that on a referendum to be home rule.
Yes.
And the people would vote on it, and they would be home rule, and then they could put
Yes.
$1,000 for each license on the machine, or they can put on
Yes.
a gas tax, or they could put on whatever they want.
Correct. The Village of Mattawa has 546 people, and they are home rule.
Okay, so I mean, and so it tells me that if you work hard enough and do the right thing, you could have what the rest of us have if you can convince your people in your town to put that on, and then you could be like the rest of us. So the rest of us, for a handful that aren't home rule, we may end up suffering again
Yes.
for a handful.
Well, it's not really a handful because you have to take a look at the state as a whole. So there are a significant number of towns that are under 25,000 that are non-home rule.
But they could be if they
Downstate.
wanted to be.
They could be,
That's
yes.
what bothers me.
Yes, they could be.
Well, go out for referendum. If the residents don't want it, I get it.
Right.
But I mean, it's not because, maybe they're just too lazy to try and do it, I don't know. But crying and, I sit on the board with some of them, that cry and complain about it all the time, and it's like, I'm getting tired of it, because, you know, I mean, it just isn't right. If we don't like something, we change it. And if we do it as a team, we do it with the village, we do it the way it should be done. But to just sit back and complain and whine about it, they don't complain about a lot of the other stuff that they get with their $100,000 fireworks displays and stuff. That's getting on my box there. I mean, I sit with them, so I mean, to me, it just isn't fair. I want to comment a little bit on what Trustee Garvey said. No one hates mandates more than me. I hate mandates. I hate anybody that tells me what I have to do. We do what is the right thing to do. If you don't believe in getting the shot, don't get the shot. If you believe in getting the shot, get the shot. I look at the numbers. 96% of the people that are in the hospital never got the shots. That 8%, I read 4% or whatever's left, I would rather be in the other side than on the side of the ones that are dying. It's still a problem. I mean, there's no question about it, it's a problem. I hate wearing this mask. I hate going in and having to put it on when I walk in the store. I'm sure we all do. And none of us like to be told what to do. We do it as a team. We try to do everything as a team of what we do. We have a mask mandated in the building. I walk in the building, I have to have a mask on. It is what it is. I look at football, 100, how many people were there? 125,000 in the stadium? Nobody had masks on. They didn't all die. So, I mean, I don't know right now, I'm not sure. I look back and I got the shots because my wife was very vulnerable. Those of you that don't know, I just wanted to thank the board. For the last 3 weeks, they've really covered for me and done a lot of things, and the staff has gone out of their way. My wife spent 14 days in the hospital, which very, very, very bad. And we took her home last weekend, and she's coming around. So I just wanted to let everybody know. Those that, I didn't make a big deal about it, we talked about it, and everybody decided they would just cover and do things for me that I would ordinarily be doing. I just tried to slide out and slide back again, so I want to thank the staff for doing that, and the trustees, and for the trustees that went out of their way to call and tell me they're praying for my wife, because I think that point, that was the only thing that was going to help her was the prayers, to be honest with you. So I want to thank you, those of you that done that. Especially the ones that went out of their way to call me or send me a text message. Thank you. I have no other report. I'm just happy that we have who we are. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Miller, I missed you.
That's okay.
Oh, that's okay. I'm sorry. I got on my wagon right away, and it's like, you know, I'm.
Well, that's important
wagon,
stuff.
I'm going to give it to you, and then we'll adjourn.
Okay. Tonight, the village board reappointed Frank Parisi as Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals chairperson. The village is very fortunate to have somebody and grateful with Frank's credentials. He's a certified architect and a partner in his architectural firm. I know Community Development Director Don Basson is very thankful that he chairs the Plan Commission, as is Tom Ferrasi. And he's a very good leader of the Plan Commission. The final thing I wanted to mention is this week, Public Works will be flushing fire hydrants. They do this every year. So this week, and then every week beginning Monday and ending on Saturday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. For the next couple of weeks, the flushing will be occurring. Signs will be placed in the neighborhoods where they'll be doing the flushing. So if you notice the signs out there, run your water and make sure there's no rust or discoloration in your water. If you have any questions, please contact Public Works. And congratulations to Trustee Berger for his Purdue Boilermakers beating number 3 Iowa this weekend. Number 2, that's right. That's all I have.
It's the drum. They beat the drum and drive everybody crazy.
That did it.
Well, being you did what you, now I want to talk. I want to thank our Community Development Director. You and Tom have done a great job. There's a lot of good things that are happening right now that we can't really talk about, with some restaurants possibly and changes coming in certain areas. And you are relentless in the way you do your job, and I want to tell you how much we all appreciate that. We can start something, but you got to finish it, and that's the hard part. Anybody could start something, but who finishes it is the key person, and you and your department have really done that. So I want to thank you personally. There's a couple of them are going to be really exciting if they all come to fruition. I hope that they do. I think you've got a hearing coming up on one on Monday. Is that correct? Yep. And that would be very interesting because that would be on the block that I'm on. We got everything there from cars to cremation to candy salesmen to you name it. And we're on, I like that block. We're very diverse on that block, so. But thank you. I wanted to say that. And John, you got to be happy. You got money to work with now, right? Yeah, he's happy. You don't say nothing anymore. Okay, with that, motion to adjourn? So moved. Moved by trustee McCarthy, seconded by trustee Zalick. Clerk, call a roll.
Trustee Berger.
Aye.
Trustee Garvey.
Aye.
Trustee Zalick.
Aye.
Trustee Gieser.
Aye.
Trustee McCarthy.